And of course, a former Trump political advisor categorically denying that he had any contact with Russians during the 2016 campaign. And now Roger Stone and another former campaign advisor, Michael Caputo, are reversing their accounts, saying that they did have contact with at least one Russian who was trying to sell them dirt on Trump's 2016 opponent, Hillary Clinton. According to Stone's account to the Washington Post, he met with a man who called himself Henry Greenberg, who offered damaging information about Hillary Clinton in late May of 2016. However, Greenberg did not reveal the information he claimed to possess. Caputo, who was working with the campaign at the time, says he spoke with Greenberg by phone and arranged the meeting for Stone. Text messages show that after the meeting, Caputo asked Stone, "How crazy is the Russian?" Stone said he wants big money for the info. Waste of time. Caputo replied, "The Russian way. Anything at all interesting?" And Stone said no. Neither disclosed that meeting in their testimonies to the House Intelligence Committee. At the time, Caputo said he specifically told them he had no contact with any Russians.
I spent my time in front of the committee detailing the fact that I had no contact with Russians, that I never heard of anyone in the Trump campaign talking with Russians, that I never was asked questions about my time in Russia, that I never even spoke to anybody about Russia. I never heard the word Russia, and we did not use Russian dressing.
Well, both Stone and Caputo say they had forgotten about the meeting for almost 2 years until their memories were refreshed by text messages last month. But they're also now claiming that they were set up because court documents show Greenberg said he'd worked as an informant to the FBI. The Post notes, however, that there's no evidence that Greenberg was working with the FBI in his interactions with Stone. I'm joined right now by Michael Caputo, the former Trump campaign advisor at the center of the latest development. Michael, thank you. If you were on a jury and someone said they forgot in the midst of this Russian thing we've been talking about every night here and everywhere else for the last couple of years, and didn't remember hearing from a guy who called himself Henry Greenberg, pretty much the name of an American baseball player with a heavy Russian accent, and you forgot that you not only got that call, you forgot you told Roger Stone about the call, you forgot that you called Roger Stone after you had this meeting with the guy, you forgot all three incidents, forgot them all under testimony, and only when your memory was sort of pricked by something that, in terms of texts, did you remember it? Do you think you'd believe such a claim?
Well, if I heard what you just said, I probably wouldn't believe it, but you're categorically incorrect on a couple of items. Number one, this was about 2 minutes of my life in 2016. I forgot about it, and I recalled it in preparation for the meeting with the Senate Intelligence Committee on May 1st and the Mueller meeting on May 2nd.
That's
the Senate didn't ask me about it.
2 years later.
2 years later, right. And Mueller asked me the same question precisely that was asked of me at the House. In fact, the Mueller investigator seemed to be reading it from my testimony, from my House testimony. He said the exact same question. Did any Russian ever offer you any information about Hillary Clinton, approximately? And I revealed immediately, yes, a man named Henry Greenberg came to me and offered me negative information about Hillary Clinton and yada, yada. And he was extremely disappointed that I answered it with full disclosure, which I had not done in front of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence in July of 2017. We then got into some back and forth on this issue, which made me believe very clearly that the Mueller team knew exactly what went on in that meeting. And after I left, I started an investigation, which is up now at democratdossier.org, and proved that Henry Greenberg is not his name. He's got 4 names. And he worked as an FBI informant for 17 years.
So tell me exactly the moment when it clicked on you that you had contact with this so-called self-identified Henry Greenberg, the Russian. When did it click on you? Oh, yeah. When that happened?
While I was preparing for the House, for the Senate and the
2 years later,
the Mueller investigation, probably about the second week or early third week of April.
Why do you think it wasn't
preparing.
But in the midst of all this talk about the Russian influence on the 2016 election, it did not jog your memory, this memory, did not come to the surface of your mind, even in preparing for sworn testimony to the House Intelligence Committee. It didn't occur to you that that's something that had happened in your life.
It didn't at all. First of all, it wasn't the only approach.
Roger Stone forgot it? Do you think Roger Stone forgot all those 3 incidents you had shared with him, the telling him about it, getting a reaction from him? Both you guys forgot it all.
Indeed. In fact, Roger didn't know until I reminded him when I figured it out before my move to the Mueller team on May 2nd. So you know, Roger had the same inability to remember. For me, It was a total of 2 minutes of my life. And we weren't reminded by those texts. Those texts were presented to me after I disclosed the meeting, Chris, so that's categorically incorrect. Those texts are texts from Roger's telephone. Now, frankly, how they got a hold of Roger's texts, I don't know.
When you heard about the offer of for $2 million, you were going to get some dirt on Hillary Clinton. It made sense because it was early in the campaign. Hillary was the favorite. Why did you decide, or Roger decide, that it wasn't worth the money, even if it would turn the election around? If there was some real dirt there, like money coming from Russia to Hillary or something like that, I imagine that's what they were selling, something to do with finance. What else could they be selling?
According to the Washington Post, this Henry Greenberg, actually Henry Okniansky, which is actually Henry, et cetera, he's got 4 different names. None of them are his birth name. He told the Washington Post he was offering information from a Ukrainian friend who was employed by the Clinton Foundation and was fired and angry and had damning information. That's what he told the Washington Post. That makes sense to me.
I
never heard this in the conversation.
I would find that alluring as well. Do you think you broke the law, or Roger
first of all, of
broke
course,
the law?
Chris, I didn't hear any of this at all. I didn't hear anything about money being the $2 million. If you read the text that ended the whole thing with me and Roger, it was about big money. That's all I heard. I didn't know about $2 million. I didn't know about Ukraine. And as far as I know, nobody knew about Ukraine until Henry Greenberg talked to the Washington Post last week.
Were you aware at the time that taking something of value from another country would be illegal? Did you sense even now? Do you sense even now it would be illegal to take dirt, which has campaign value, from another country?
Well, first of all, Henry Greenberg is an individual, not a nation. If he was representing any nation, he was representing the Federal Bureau of Investigation because he worked for 17 years as an FBI informant. But in addition, at the same time, it doesn't matter if it was a French Canadian who called me, a German who called me. At the time, late May, nobody's antenna were up about Russia. It wouldn't have even crossed my mind. But if it were coming from a government, I would have reported to the general counsel of the campaign immediately. But it wasn't a government. It was a crackpot, as far as Roger figured it out. And we found out later, after I got really interested in the questioning that proved that the Mueller investigation knew more about it than me, when I proved, it's up at democratdossier.org, the guy's been an FBI informant for 17 years.
I know that.
Whether he was working on a lunch break that day when he met with Roger, we're going to have to find out.
We understand that he was no longer an agent for the FBI. But let me ask you a bit. How do we know that?
We don't know that.
We don't know that.
I proved beyond a shadow of a doubt, because he filed an affidavit with INS court in California that he swore under oath that he was an FBI informant for 17 years. But, Chris, he's an illegal alien only in this country on an FBI informant visa. Why is he still here?
You and Roger have your own credibility problems here. I wouldn't be shooting arrows at anyone else, because when you forget you had a Russian connection for 2 years, that's astounding to people.
With an FBI informant, Chris.
Well, you're making that argument now, but why didn't you bring it to our attention, the country's attention, 2 years ago? Even if it was an FBI informant, shouldn't the country have known that you were dealing with the Russians?
We weren't dealing with the Russians. We were dealing with a guy named Henry Greenberg from Russia.
You were connecting him up with Roger. You were the intermediary to get into Roger.
Right, but everybody knows nobody got connected with anything. Listen, Chris, here's the situation.
You got him on the phone with Roger.
You're fixed. Listen, I know you're fixed on whether or not Roger and I were honest to the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. I know that's where MSNBC is fixed right now.
Well, I think the House Intelligence Committee would be as well.
We have no legal exposure. We have no criminal exposure, because we fulfilled our commitment and our responsibility to HIPSI. That's a fact. But what I want to know is why you don't care if an FBI informant who was a violent Russian criminal was sent into a white-collar investigation by James Comey. That's the question we need answered.
Because this whole thing that you're coming out with at this convenient time 2 years later, the whole thing you're doing smacks of something like John Dean and the Nixon cover-up. It smacks of bringing out information way late, 2 years late at your convenience. Because you're going to make the case that you were used.
To me, Chris?
Because
why is this convenient to me?
I let you make the statement twice. You're saying you were set up.
I didn't figure out that.
Because it's part of a setup scenario.
Anything more than a glance.
You just gave it to me. Your setup scenario twice. I know what you're doing.
I didn't figure out. What, we have a delay here apparently, because I keep getting interrupted. I know that's not your normal thing. So. What would you like me to answer now?
You've already told me that you remember all this 2 years late. Thank you, Michael Caputo. Good luck with your setup story.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.